Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and I think it's time for a redemption scavenger hunt. So what I decided to do is I'm going to fix my mistake, so to speak. While I was editing this last scavenger hunt, I realized at one point that when I was looking for a certain book, I completely missed and didn't even think about a book that was actually right behind me in the other room. So I'm going to walk you through how that went, and we're going to kind of fix this and go from there. So the first book that I started with was a favorite book, and that was Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I've loved this. I gave it 5 stars. Now, when I went to the acknowledgments, the first name that I saw was Sarah, and that led me to A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. Now, the next prompt was to pick something on this cover and then find a title with that thing in, or find a book with that thing in the title. So there is a snake up here, which led me to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This one, when I went to page 50, line 5, the exact line read, Lady in the Capitol. And so the book that led me to was, or to find one of those words in a title of another book, that led me to Lady Tan's Circle of Women. And then I had to find a book, a 5-star read with the same colors on the cover. And that led me to The Lies of Loch Lamora, which I still can't get over the comparison between the colors on these 2 books. It was perfect. So here's where things started to derail. When I was looking for a book with the same number of pages as The Lies of Loch Lamora, the first book I chose was City of Brass. When I chose a random name in this book to find another book by an author with the same name, I found Allie, and I went to Bride by Allie Hazelwood. I was supposed to find a book with the same number of letters in the title, and I didn't think that I had any. But if you've watched that video, by the time this comes up, it will be up because I'm going to post it tomorrow. But I had Wrath right behind me, and I didn't even think about it. So what I'm going to do is the very last prompt that I needed to fill was just to open to a random page and pick a word and find a book. And so that's what I'm going to do with Wrath, like I should have done in the first place. And hopefully I will have a book that I don't DNF this time. So I'm going to open up to a random page in Wrath, find a word, and we'll see what happens. You're not sneaky. Okay, so let's open up to a random page and point out a word. Capable. So I don't have a book with capable, so let's try this again. Still. I think I had this the last time. And the only thing I could think of is Still Life with Crows, but that's by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. That is part of the Pendergast series, and I read that entire series. So that's not gonna work. Another random page. Lifted. I don't have anything with that either. From. Shield. Page. Fiercely. No. Into. It's usually not a good sign if I don't think of something right away. No intos. Okay. Had. Cursed. I have Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but I don't want to read that one. So let's try again. A random page. Corbin. That's not gonna work. Land. Deep. The Deep. Almakatsu. Okay, So I am going to read The Deep by Alma Katsu. So the book that I'm going to be reading as my redemption is The Deep by Alma Katsu. I have previously read The Hunger by her, which is basically a Donner Party horror retelling. This one is a Titanic horror retelling, and hopefully I will like it. I really enjoyed The Hunger. I think I gave it between 4 and 4.5 stars. I had a really good time with that one. It was very slow burn, but it was so atmospheric. It was amazing. So let us go back through. If you watched my previous video, you know at least the first half of this pile. Okay, so we have Something Wilder, which led to A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, which led to Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which led to Lady Tan's Circle of Women, which led to Lies of Locke Lamora, which should have led to City of Brass, and then Bride, and then Wrath, and finally to The Deep by Alma Katsu. So this I will read, and hopefully it will be a redemption. Okay guys, so today is July 24th. It is Wednesday, and I have officially started The Deep by Alma Katsu. I started this morning, and I am up to page 113, which is chapter 13. And what I love about Alma Katsu's writing is she blends historical fiction with horror, and she does such a good job of it. This book, there's not really a lot that's horrific specifically yet. There has been the death of a young boy who was the servant to one of the rich families, but there hasn't been anything outright scary yet. But the atmosphere in this book is incredible. She does atmosphere so well. This book is going back and forth between 1912 and 1916, following Annie Hebley, who is a stewardess on the Titanic when it sinks. And she's a stewardess for, I think she said 12 of the upper class. For 12 of the upper class cabins, the really rich, the elite, she is a stewardess for them. And she takes care of like 12 different rooms, basically getting whatever they need and doing whatever they need done. So when she's on the Titanic, she is dealing with these families. She's met multiple people, obviously. One of them that is significant is Mark. Him and his wife and their baby girl are on the ship, and for whatever reason, the wife, whose name is Caroline, just doesn't really have a connection, it seems like, with the baby. So it's kind of up to Mark and the nanny their nanny to take care of the baby, because something's going on with Carolyn that she's just not with it. She's not all there. Annie has also met Stead. His name is Stead. He's a reporter who can perform a seance. And so what happens is something happens where this little boy, who's the servant to the Astors, he has something in his mind that makes him stand on the railings of the ship. Now there's another man on the ship who is a boxer, who's a professional fighter, and he gets the boy down off the railing and ends up meeting the Astors as well as these other elite people because of it. And they have dinner together, and what it comes down to is they decide to perform a seance and try and connect with some spirits. They don't have any particular spirit in mind. They just think that the ship is haunted, and so they perform this seance. And then later on that, or like just right after they started this seance, the little boy has a seizure, and they don't make him to help him in time, and he dies. And so at this point in the book, it's mainly been based around what happened on the Titanic in 1912. And then it's also going back to, or it's also bouncing forward to 1916, where Annie has spent the last 4 years in an asylum, and she gets a letter from somebody that she worked with on the Titanic, another survivor, who says, I want you to come and work with me and be a nurse on the Britannia. And so when all is said and done, she ends up deciding to do it because the asylum says there isn't actually anything wrong with her, so she could leave at any time. And so she feels like something pulling her to go and work on the Britannia. And so she goes and she starts being a nurse because it's during the war. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So not a lot has happened. There's been some weird things that, like, talking about like sirens and something in the sea calling to them. Annie is from Ireland, so there's of course the lore that's she's grown up hearing about and stuff like that I believe is going to come into play. But either way, like, not a lot has happened yet. It's just so atmospheric, and I love that about her books because I love historical fiction. I like the creepy stuff, like with The Hunger, it was based around the Donner Party, which is just kind of scary in general. And then of course you have the sinking of the Titanic, which is just insane how that just, the unsinkable ship, the first time it goes out, sinks. So it's just kind of wild circumstances, and it's such a good piece of history to write a horror surrounding it. And I really just think that's such an interesting take on horror, is to make it a historical fiction but with a horrific element to it. And I think that is so unique because I've never seen anything like this before. It's not body horror, it's not like jumping out and scaring you. It's just atmospheric, and the tension builds. I remember with The Hunger, the tension just built and built and built, and I know that that's exactly how this book is going to be. So I'm really excited to keep reading this. It's a little over 400 pages, so it is gonna take me a little bit. I remember with The Hunger, it took me a little bit of time to read it just because it is a slower paced book, but I am so intrigued. She's building the atmosphere incredibly, and I'm really, really enjoying her writing style. So I'm going to keep reading this. I'm not sure how far I'm gonna make it into it tonight, but this one probably won't take me too terribly long to read, and I've got the rest of today. I've got my video for August TBR uploading right now. So I've got the rest of today and tomorrow for the most part, I think, that I can get some reading done, depending on how things play out, and then my birthday on Friday. So hopefully, if everything works out, I will be finishing this and having a 5-star read for my birthday, which would be fantastic. Because I've had such a great reading month, and I love her books. I love her writing, and it's such beautiful writing. And so I'm going to keep reading this today, and I'm going to see where it takes me. And I think that's it for now. So I will check back in with you when I have a little bit more of an update for you. As far as I know, this one is looking into some kind of a demonic thing or a ghost that starts haunting them on the ship. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll see what happens with that and what it ends up being. So I'll check back in with you when I have a little bit more to say about the deep. Good morning, guys. So it is almost 6 o'clock. It is now Monday, the 29th of July, and I've been reading The Deep. I am 100 pages from the end. I'm on 318 pages in. This book has so many twists and turns. It's drama, it's paranormal, it's culty-ish because of the fact that they're doing seances, and some of them believe in ghosts and others don't, and then people wind up having seizures and act like they're possessed, and then they kind of lose their shit because they don't know who might be possessed and who's not. So everybody's kind of losing their shit, and it's really interesting. I'm really curious to see how the 1916, the Britannia chapters tie into the 1912 chapters with the Titanic, because the majority of this book is on the Titanic. It says in the description that there's a lot on the Britannia and that she's come back and whatnot, but most of this book is based around what actually happened in 1912. I also was curious last night because some of these characters I know of. For instance, the Astors, John Jacob Astor. I've heard that name. I know him, and I know that he was a real person. But I looked it up because these are all like first class passengers for the most part that it's talking about, and I was curious of who was actually a person on the Titanic and who wasn't, because like I know some things about the Titanic but not a lot. So we have John Jacob Astor, obviously, who was on the Titanic, and he did die, but his wife, this was a big scandal back then, his wife was 18 and there was like a 30-year difference between them, and she was pregnant, and her name was Madeleine Astor, and she actually survived the Titanic, and from what I read, their son was born 4 months later. So that's interesting. Both of them were real. Their storyline is legit, that she was 18, there was a large age gap, and she was pregnant. Lucy and Cosmo Duff, I believe their name is. I think that's right. Duff. She was a fashion designer, and her husband, they both were real, and they both survived, and they got a lot of grief for it, especially Cosmo, because he was in one of the first boats, and he was rumored to have bribed the crewman. And then the other one who was on the ship was Ismay. I think he was like one of the designers or something like that with the ship, so he was real. Guggenheim was real. And I think that's it. So there's a lot of real characters in this. So that's kind of fun too, because like I said, this is a historical horror is what I'm calling it, because it is. It's historical fiction with horror elements, and I'm really enjoying it. I love Alma Katsu's writing. Same with The Hunger. I've said this before. Her writing, it is slower paced, but it's so atmospheric, because when you're reading this, you're on the ship with them, and you don't know who to trust. You don't know what instances, especially with this book at this point, because you don't really know what's real and what's not. It's almost like their characters are like hallucinating or sleepwalking or something along those lines with that paranormal aspect to it. Something is going on where all their memories are getting fuzzy and things are really weird, and so I don't know. I'm having such a great time with this though, and this is one of those books that I kind of take my time reading it. It's been a really busy weekend with my birthday, and with my husband took me book shopping for my birthday, which I will have my haul in a video to come. I have a June and July haul that I'm gonna do, and so it's just been a really busy weekend, so I just haven't done hardly any reading. But her books are also ones that kind of take a little bit slower. They take a little bit more time to read, for me at least, just because they are slower moving, and it's hard to really sit and binge read this when I have a 6 and 8 and a 1-year-old running around the house. So it just takes me a little bit more time to get through it, but it's so atmospheric, and I'm really enjoying my time with this. I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it just yet. Kind of depends on how this last 100 pages is going to play out, but I'm really excited to see what happens with this today. But that's my plan, is to finish this today and hopefully be able to wrap up this video. But it just kind of depends on how things go. Like I said, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning right now, so I have the majority of today to get some reading done, and so I'm really excited to finish this up today and give you my final thoughts, because this book is just, it's so good. So good. So I will check back in with you later on once I finish it. Okay guys, so it is almost lunchtime. It is still Monday, the 29th of July, and I have just finished The Deep by Alma Katsu, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. The ending felt like it was just a tiny little bit of a letdown for me, but at the same time I also really enjoyed it. I thought the history behind this book was absolutely amazing. I didn't realize that one of the characters in this book connecting Annie to both ships was Violet Jessup. And come to find out, Violet Jessup actually was a real person who survived the sinking of both the Titanic and the Britannic ships, as well as one before that. And so that was really interesting to me as well. I love historical fiction, and I love the way that Alma Katsu goes about writing these books and combining historical fiction with a horror element mixed into it. So there's things that, because it's history, things are, not every detail is known. And so that's what's interesting with this, is that she kind of plays with that. So I would say that this was a pretty good redemption from my last scavenger hunt by giving this 4 stars. And I'm really glad that I read it. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know if there are any videos that you would like to see from me. I love doing these scavenger hunts. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a great way to get to some books that I might not as quickly otherwise. So once again, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out my TBRs. I use a knife throwing game that I do for my TBRs, as well as other vlogs. I have lots of plans for August, and I'm really excited for all of them. So this was just the first one. I do have many more coming, and I will catch you in whatever comes next. Bye.